language, what we can do is slow it down. So we can say, too many people are reading at the same time. But this is a common concern amongst publishers in that they don't want a classroom of students to buy a book once and read it, throughout the whole classroom for the semester. That's no fun. We're good at detecting this, but at the same time, somebody who's reading on a couple of devices that they own and traveling perhaps to an international conference, doesn't want to get locked out of their book, and that's the wrong answer. So we have a deep strength in this as well. And then even when people are reading on a smartphone application, which we will have, to the extent that there are security problems, we can force updates, we can actually do it more quietly behind the scenes, and again, stay ahead of the cat and mouse game, because we're not thinking in terms of, a single device, a single set of, DRM, but we're thinking in terms of just preventing casual piracy and staying ahead of the hackers and helping publishers make sure that their books are sold and not pirated. So another, I guess, chunked content, I spoke to that. What we mean by that is that for all of our reading situations, because we think in terms of the web, even if the entire contents of the book are available to the user offline, and they will be in smartphone applications, there's never an EPUB sitting on the smartphone somewhere so that if they get through our security, voila, I've got an EPUB, I can stick it up on BitTorrent. Well, what they get, if they do manage to beat our security, is they get thousands of tiny little files that individually comprise a book, and you stick those together and you still don't have an EPUB. So that's one form of protection. In the middle, you can see a very basic example of what we do with images in the browser. If you have any technical knowledge, you know that we can't actually encrypt an image that we send down to a user to view in their browser. Browsers just display generic images. And when we're showing a user the original page images of a book, so that cookbook example earlier, we have to send an image. But what we can do is shuffle the image. We call it an image puzzle. And you can see it here, where the page on the right has been decomposed into 5 different blocks of content. And then in the reader, we can actually stitch those back together using effectively encryption key. Now that's a basic example. It looks something more like these examples here. And we have some pretty fantastic image processing folks who do some tough, challenging work in our library scanning project. And we gave them this challenge kind of for fun, and it's their professional opinion that it's unbreakable. If they're wrong, it turns out, as always, we can just keep changing the secret sauce a little bit. But it's pretty clever. It lets us send images down to users so that they can see, great books, but those books are not piratable. On the e-reader side, so to support those 8 million e-ink devices, we will be using Adobe Digital Editions, which is the most openly used DRM standard. It's configured to enforce publisher settings, and so users can transfer these to their devices. We anticipate a lot more of those devices will be sold this year. The price points are coming down. I think the iPad is a beautiful device, but it's quite expensive for a lot of people. Most people have laptops. If they're thinking, am I going to buy a reader device, $100 is a lot easier to part with than $500 or more. And so we definitely want to support this. So it's great that there is this kind of open DRM standard for just about everybody, which is Adobe Digital Editions. So that's the Google Books experience. Search and discovery, preview the content, help people find and buy your books, historically finding print versions of these books, and when Google Editions launches, now finding the ebook version, and then enabling purchase, whether it's at Google or through our reseller partners, enabling resellers around the world to sell ebooks instead of seeing them go out of business because they can't sell the content that's living in a couple big verticals. And then read them anywhere. So making sure that users who choose to read ebooks don't get stuck reading ebooks just on one platform and can't take them anywhere, but can read them on whatever device they buy in any given year and know that their content will be around 10, 20, 30 years from now. They're buying a bookshelf. They're not just buying access to the book to read tomorrow. So that's Google Editions.